Group F and Canada, and here's the coach, John Herdman. We'll get to all your opponents in just a second. First of all, what was that like for you? The emotions and nerves, clearly different from being on the sidelines of a tight game, but how difficult was it to watch that?
I enjoyed it. I mean, I think this is a moment we've all dreamt of, to be actually thinking we're going to see Canada's name pulled out of one of those pots. That group of men were the last team to earn that right, and they earned that right for the country to sit there and be excited about a FIFA draw, which aren't the most exciting things at times. So, look, the draw is brilliant. We were just happy to be in any of them groups, because this World Cup is about going and enjoying it for our country. You know, for once, people can put their Italian shirts in the draw. Their Croatian shirts can go in the draw. They can pull on the red of Canada and just get behind our country and enjoy what that's going to be.
I know the last few days have been pure exhilaration. Obviously, the difficult game in Panama, and you're exhausted as well. But from the euphoria of Sunday, was that moment still the moment it felt real to you when you saw Canada go up on that board?
I can't even explain what these moments have been. It's been such a kaleidoscope of events that have happened in the last sort of 8 months that all I know is this country's going to be able to sit, watch their team play in a World Cup. We've all experienced that, those that are the immigrants into this country that grew up in football nations, and to have that moment where, you know, dads, daughters, sons, grandparents are all going to pile in around the TV and watch Canada score its first goal at a World Cup. I mean, that's the dream, to have a whole country celebrating at the same time. That's what's been getting me out of bed, and we get the chance to do it.
Well, let's get to the meat of it. What do you make of your group, and how does Canada get out of this group?
Well, I think it's going in there with the right mentality. You know, we said this 2022 was about laying a foundation for 2026. I've been to multiple World Cups and Olympic Games, and I know you have to experience one to genuinely go and compete at one. For many of these men, this will be their first experience, but I won't limit their thinking to that. The reality is, in tournament football, anything can happen. So we can go in there as underdogs, we can go in there with no fear, and with a mentality of enjoy the experience. We've already built a culture built on grit, determination, and that swagger has started to come for this team. So this is just another moment for them to show new Canada. That's it. And I think everyone knows we're fighting for a number of things, the continued respect. But many of these men will be fighting for an opportunity to go and play in the biggest clubs in the world. Oh, it's time. It's brilliant.
You have 7.5 months to get ready for these teams. It starts with Belgium on November 23rd, but let's quickly run through each one of them. Belgium, obviously a world power for a long time.
They're all right, aren't they?
Yeah.
They've only been number one in the world for a few years.
Do you have a game plan yet?
Yeah, De Bruyne, yeah. Put about 7 players on. Nah, we got to enjoy that, embrace it. Look, we'll do the work. We always do the work. We'll challenge ourselves. You know, my last meeting with the players, we said the work starts here. You know, the men that were in that room post-Panama, you know, they've got some big decisions and choices to make to get themselves ready for the biggest event of their lives, and the staff. So we'll do the work. We'll work extra hard. Hopefully teams will take us a little bit lightly coming into this game, and we'll capitalise on anything they give us. But we've got to have a mentality to take as much as we can in this tournament, and just not to be afraid, play with no fear. Tournament football, anything can happen. We've seen it.
Croatia was magic 4 years ago. There is concern, as we just talked about, that they're aging a little bit. You went to Croatia after to try and learn a little bit about their program?
Well, we had James Duthie do a development visit there to understand things they'd done well. And I was there with my son for a few years. He was at one of the top clubs there, and just listening and watching and learning osmosis about what happens in that country. But it's a country with a small population that's done really well, and it just shows you can really punch above your weight in these tournaments. I think just for Canada, we keep our feet on the ground. I think the fans, the TV analysts, we just got to keep our feet on the ground, recognise where we're at, where we'd like to get to, and then just keep believing anything's possible.
The magic in what you've done with this team to get here is you've convinced them they could be greater than perhaps they even thought they were. And they've all said that to a point. How do you now convince them they're good enough to make a run at a World Cup?
Well, that first meeting I had with them in Mercia, you know, my opening conversation was, we will be the first team to score a goal at a World Cup. We'll be the first team to keep a clean sheet. We'll be the first team to qualify out the group stage. I mean, these are the things that we were pushing for. I'd said to them, every game that we play on the road to Qatar will be building us for that opening game against a team like Brazil. Funny enough, it's Belgium. So, I mean, this is something that's been seeded in the mentality of this group for a period of time. Whenever we're talking about this journey, it's about breaking new ground, pioneer mindset. What records can we break? What can we achieve? And I think with that mentality, we'll go into this World Cup with, you know, not naivety to think that you're just going to walk onto a field and do what the hell you like against the Belgium. We've got to be smart, but not scared. And again, that's part of, I think, what we've created with a new Canada.
I don't want you to reveal your secrets, but it still amazes me. Every coach that comes to a new struggling program wants to establish a new culture, wants to make their players believe. We hear it all the time, but most of the time it fails. So what was it in your words, in your techniques, that made it so successful, that has a guy like Alphonso Davies saying he'd run through a wall for you?
Well, I've got great people around us. I think that's always what has been a massive part of the success. But those people have experienced tournament football. That's been the gift for us. It's a staff, a leadership team that have taken Canada from last place in the world in a Women's World Cup to the podium in London. You know, first time in 86 years, people start believing. In those experiences, you recognise human potential, human will, that there's layers to it, and it can go way beyond when the mind's committed. So there's great people in this Canadian infrastructure that's helped bring this team to get them to believe in themselves but each other. And we've professionalised it. We've created a unique high-performance culture and system that is bespoke to international football through the people who work in it that have had 15, 20 years of working only in international football. I think that's been a key for Canada.
Let's get into some of the important details of the next 7.5 months. You've only played one team outside of CONCACAF in your tenure, Iceland. How challenging, England's well, how challenging is it for you to, New Zealand and Iceland were the two. How challenging is it for you to schedule friendlies in the windows that you have? How important is it to get out and play a European club, a South American club, and teams that perhaps mirror the game style of the opponents you'll meet in Group F?
Yeah, I think there's a well-trodden path which shows, you know, what you're supposed to do going into tournaments. But I've seen that there's no magic formula to this. You could miss a friendly and not get that type of experience and still win a match. It's the simplicity for us is we just keep growing. That's the most important part, that the staff and the players get certain experiences that are going to test them and challenge them. And we haven't played a team that has 11 Tier 1, Level 1 international players playing in the top 5 teams in the top 5 clubs in the world. We have to have that experience. We've got to know what that feels like. Some of these players feel it in Champions League, but other players haven't had that experience. So, you know, those are going to be important to us. But I don't think there is a magic formula to this. We've just got to know that in June we get a great chance to play one friendly game, and then in September I think we have to get to Europe and start looking to play some of those top European teams to feel that energy and that style of play, and also the mentality of players that play Champions League every week.
How many can you get in?
Not many, because we've got Nations League. And the Nations League, you know, in that June window, we could be flying down to South America and Suriname to play a match, and then flying back to somewhere in Canada that, again, you've got to think of the performance. We'd love to get the team out around the country, but you've got to think how we get back and be competitive in Nations League. So then we'll play someone like Panama or Costa Rica again.
So realistically, is it maybe one European team you get to play, one South American
I'd like
team?
to say in September we'll get to, a base in Europe and play maybe an Asian or a European team. 2 games in September and probably 1 in June, just given the reality of this Nations League schedule and where players are in their off-season. If Fonzie goes to their Champions League final again, he needs that time off, so he misses the first, week and a half of camp. He'll miss that international friendly most likely. So, yeah,
and there are games up to 8 days before the World Cup begins.
Yeah,
of course, you're used to this,
right? Time.
Right?
The time you get just before you go in, for me, that's the time. All of this other stuff is important. But when you're there, that's where you've got your 23 players, maybe 26 if FIFA have changed the rules. And that's where that group come together. And the friendlies there are critical. That's your moment. Because you actually don't know, like injuries, new COVID strains, who knows what's going to happen until, that's what I've learned over these last 2 years, just be ready for anything. But that 11 days that's the critical part where it all comes together.
We first spent time together at the 2015 Women's World Cup when Luke and Jason DeVos were the play-by-play team and KJ was our analyst, and we'd drive to the stadium every day. And DeVos kept saying over and over again that John Herdman's the guy, when he's done with the women's program, that will turn the men's program around. And you know how Jason is, he's focused. I'm like, all right, enough DeVos, we've heard enough, Herdman. But he was right, and now he's on your staff, and you're off to a World Cup. Congratulations, get some rest. I know it's been a crazy time.
Got goosebumps there. It's the first time in a long time. Thank you.
Yeah. Congratulations, and thank you what you've done for soccer in Canada. You've reignited the passion of the nation.
Thank you.
A lot of work ahead. Best of luck. John Herdman, the coach of Team Canada. We will see him in Group F at the World Cup come November in Qatar.